what's up, Cole here, and I know you can't see, but I'm absolutely surrounded by comics, because just wanted to tackle a subject. We're back in the Marvel Universe, my specialty, they're the same word, they do the same thing. Anyway, yeah, you know, I'm big into lots of comics, and I make an effort to try to talk about other stuff, and I hope you've enjoyed that, but the stuff I know the most about and that I'm most passionate about is Marvel. And so anyone who's followed Marvel knows that, ooh, big changes once more. I mean, that's how it goes in Marvel and the comic book world in general. I mean, DC has almost a very similar thing going on too with their whole Brightest Day thing after Blackest Night, and of course now Siege is over. There's Siege. Even if you didn't read it, you pretty much know what happened in it. I sure did before I read it. And yeah, so no more Dark Reign. But even before that, you have to think that going back to just after I really started collecting and following comics, the really big shift, of course, was the emergence of Brian Michael Bendis, and I think how he took down the Avengers and put up the new Avengers. Now, I've shown this before. Here's the director's cut. I never cared about the Avengers, and they're just sort of boring to me. Never really got why we're supposed to be so enthralled by characters specifically like Iron Man, Cap, and Thor, sort of the big three. Just never cared. They just weren't very interesting to me, and it always sort of baffled me when I read a lot of X-Men and stuff. Particularly remember reading the Onslaught stuff and the Avengers showing up, and I just didn't get why there was supposed to be any sort of reverence for them. As far as I could tell, they were just the A squad or the A-list guys I didn't like. They were overrated, and then they sort of jumped over the B-list to me, and there were just a bunch of C and D guys just thrown in there calling themselves Avengers. I mean, how many Avengers have there been? A ton, and I just don't care. So anyway, so I bought this just thinking, hey, whatever. So I started collecting from here, and the disassembled storyline pissed a lot of people off. I thought it was interesting. And here's the Avengers finale, which I thought would be a good jumping off point into Avengers number 1. Guess what? I don't have Avengers number 1, as I told you before. I don't remember why, because it was a long time ago now. But here is Avengers number 2, and from then on, I have all the way up to, just bought, Avengers, its finale. New Avengers finale. Except this isn't really the end exactly, because as you know, it's just going to be Avengers Madness starting this week and into the summer, with a new title simply called Avengers, starting at number 1. New Avengers starting over, Secret Avengers, Avengers Academy, and probably some more stuff, and lots of one-shots and little limited series and things like that. So I just wanted to talk about, where I think I might go with this and what I wanted. New Avengers wasn't always perfect, but I really did like it. I do like Brian Michael Bendis. I don't like everything he did. What's interesting is some of the characters he really likes are ones I really didn't like, but still, somebody we can agree on was Luke Cage. I was really happy to see Luke Cage, pulled out of nowhere and put to the forefront of the universe. I think that's pretty cool, and he's going to stay there. He's going to be part of the new Avengers, and also everyone knows, head of the Thunderbolts, however that's going to be. And other characters, as I've said, this is really returning sort of to a status quo. Of course, it's a new status quo. And Dark Reign is the thing they're ending, but even before that, because the Civil War, and even before Civil War, the big shakeup, like I said, starting with Avengers Disassembled. For the past, since about early 2004, things have been a lot different from the way we'd seen the universe in the 90s and the 80s. And now they're going to change again. And Civil War, I really liked what it did, because it just worked out very conveniently for me, because when the sides were drawn and, divided, New Avengers sort of stayed the same for me. The Avengers I didn't care that much about, like Iron Man, left. Cap died. I was actually starting to sort of respect Cap. I liked the way he was being written, but he died, and Doctor Strange joined the team, which I thought was kind of neat, and what I thought was most neat, because the series is coming close to ending, and I love him, and because he has the Luke Cage connection, Iron Fist joined, and he sort of filled in the Iron Man capacity in that he helped fund them a little bit, although they were much more low rent, I suppose. But also they were fugitives. So finally, with the end of... And they've been fugitives forever. The end of Siege, they're finally not fugitives anymore. And we can stop having huge, long panels of Luke Cage and Jessica Jones talking about how crazy their lives have been, and is this the right thing to do with their baby? I think we're all a little sick of that. Right, so it's just... Yeah, so this stuff's going to be happening, and what am I going to do about it? Well, I'm not sure. I don't know if I'm going to collect the new Avengers. I'm going to give it a shot, but and again, I don't know if I know. Man, how many sentences did I start and abandon there? What I meant to say was, obviously, I don't know everything about it. I only know a few things. I'm just saying the few little things I know I don't particularly like. And, like, the Thing joining the team from the Fantastic Four, that seems very strange and out of place to me. But the title I'm definitely getting is going to be Secret Avengers, and here's an ad for it, and I think you can all guess why. There's a certain guy in a cape there that I have an interest in. And what I've always said about Moon Knight was I was really happy that since 2006 he's been back, he's had a series. I really like the way they've respected the character and written him. There have been some weak lulls in some of the stories a bit, but I don't think it was bad stuff they did to the character. I was always happy with how they treated the character, I really was. But I always felt a little bad because even though he was back, and I did like that he was to the side, in the corner, and out of the limelight, I did feel bad that every time there was an event, he just wasn't there at all, like, ever. And that made me sad. So finally, Secret Avengers, which is going to be written by Ed Brubaker, which has me very excited because I really like him. I think he'll write Moon Knight great. I know this is a team book, and he can't just focus on Moon Knight. I don't think Moon Knight's going to be in the first few. Not sure. The lineup I've sort of talked about with some people, you know, it seems interesting to me. It's going to be sort of this Black Ops squad. I'm getting ahead of myself. So here's something that I thought was sort of interesting. So here is Moon Knight number 8. This is several years ago. This is during the Civil War, and you see Captain America, Steve Rogers Captain America on the front there. Captain America comes basically to tell him he does not want any part of Moon Knight. It's funny, Moon Knight's just like, I don't want any part of your war, and he's like, we don't want any part of you. There's a really great panel here where he's just like, I don't like your style, mister, which is pretty funny. And what's great is something I always wanted to see a character do anyway, and I just loved that it was Mark Spector, Moon Knight. He pretty much just tells Captain America to fuck right off, which I thought was great. Yeah, there's the panel. I hope you can see it a little. I don't like your style, mister, which is so Steve Rogers. It's not even funny. So, try to keep that in mind. Because then we've got the end of Siege. And what we had seen when Bucky became Captain America, the whole idea was, here's a different, a more modern Captain America for a world that's a little darker and less naive because he uses guns and he was a secret agent and he did questionable things, but he needed it done. So what's interesting is that somewhere in here, I don't really have the time to find it, he and Steve sort of flip, it seems like that, because everyone thought, oh, Avengers, it's back, the Holy Trinity, bullshit. Thor, Cap, and Iron Man for the Avengers, except it's not Steve Rogers as Cap, it's Bucky. He's going to try to really do, I guess, the squeaky clean hero thing, and it's going to be Cap that takes the reins. And what's interesting is he's going to take the reins because he is going to be a Secret Avenger, presumably the leader of the Secret Avengers, which in fact has Moon Knight. So I really hope Brubaker addresses that point. Moon Knight is great for that sort of thing, and I don't know if they'll have words about it or not. I'm not happy with everybody that's on the team because some of them don't really seem like they fit into that secret agenty thing. Valkyrie and Nova in particular, but I guess the idea is they're going to deal with some cosmic threats. Again, is Moon Knight going to seem ridiculously out of place? I don't know. I hope not, but I think he'll always seem a little out of place, which is actually good because that's his character. Years ago, he was a West Coast Avenger. This is the first issue with him. And the West Coast Avengers, it's not great reading. But I always sort of respected it anyway when I've read a lot of back issues and collected ones that had Moon Knight. Because they sort of had the attitude that I had years later without knowing. Was like, what's so great about the Avengers? What's so great about Captain America and everybody? Why do we always have to bow and scrape to them that they're so great? Although some prominent Avengers from there, who I think some people would say were some of the best Avengers, like Henry Pym, Tony Stark, and Clint Barton, they were all West Coast Avengers at least briefly. Particularly Clint Barton, Hawkeye, he was more or less the de facto leader. What's interesting is that Moon Knight left the team at the same time as Hawkeye's wife, who just recently came back in continuity at the end of Siege. Not Siege, sorry, Secret Invasion. Don't have time to get into that, but what's interesting was she left over this thing about killing somebody. It was actually the Phantom Rider, don't have time to get into it. And Moon Knight also was just like, I'll go with you, said the Tigress. So they left. Although this was, when Moon Knight wasn't very well written, the whole thing was that Khonshu sort of possessed him and took him over, and that's why he was a West Coast Avenger in the first place. It was more Khonshu's idea than his. So, I'm interested, not sure what I'm going to do. Definitely collect Secret Avengers, hope Moon Knight runs until the end of time. And it's really new Avengers I'm on the fence about. I just don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. Buy the first couple, but I don't know. My money and patience and attention spans are limited, actually. Got other titles that I collect. Here's a couple of them if you didn't know. I collect Ultimate Spider-Man ever since the relaunch. Love it very much. The Unwritten. If you watch my The Power of Stories thing, you can see me get all emotional about that. Alright, I gotta go, true believers, but I'll be coming at you really soon, so peace, stay cool.